So far we've learned 3 chords, our A major, E major, and D major. Let's put these together in some chord progressions and start playing. Before we do this though, let's talk about a couple of concepts that I think are really important to have fresh in our mind as we're doing this. I've seen so many students get derailed and discouraged because they don't keep these things in mind as they're practicing chord progressions for the first time. We don't want that to happen to you, so let's go over them now. We want to have a goal for each aspect of our practice. This is so important because the objectives change as we do different things. And if we're judging our performance based on what success looks like in one area, and it's something completely different in another area, then we're going to get discouraged if we're not hitting those benchmarks. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Here's what I mean by that. When we're practicing the chords by themselves, let's just say we're working on our A major chord. When we're practicing this A major chord by itself, our goal is to get the best sounding chord we can. We're trying to put in practice those 3 tips for a good sounding chord. Pushing hard, using the tips of our fingers, and having good fretting position. We want that clarity. We want a really clear sounding chord. We're playing the strings one at a time to make sure that we're not accidentally muting notes or something else like that. So when we're practicing chords by themselves, success looks like us getting more familiar with the shape and aiming for the best possible sounding chord we can have. That's what success looks like over here. Now, too many students take that measurement of success over here and try and apply it to their chord progressions. However, the metric for success with your chord progressions is entirely different. I'll explain why. Let's say we're trying to put these 3 chords together in a progression. We'll do 4 strums of A, then we'll go to 4 strums of D, then we'll go to 4 strums of E, and then we'll go to 4 strums of A again. That's what we're aiming for. Most people think when they start out that they have to get good sounding chords while they're doing that. So what they'll do is this. They'll do 4 strums of A, then they'll stop and they'll get their D chord, and then they'll try and get a really clear sound, and they've failed. They're not playing a chord progression at this point. What they're doing is they're playing their A chord, and then they're stopping, and then they're playing their D chord. That's not a chord progression. When you listen to a song, there's a consistent pulse that continues throughout the whole song. What happens if you play it for 4 beats and then stop to change chord is you derail that whole sense of pulse, the whole rhythm of the song. Think about it like this. Let's say you're streaming YouTube or Netflix or something online, and the internet connection's not super great, so maybe the quality drops to like 480p for a second, you know, like it's a little fuzzy, but you're like, oh, it'll go back up to HD and then it'll be great. I can finish watching my video. That's annoying, but what's even more frustrating is when you're watching this video, you're in with the story, you know, you're following along, you're locked in, and all of a sudden it freezes and you get that little spinning circle. It derails your entire experience. You had a pulse going, you were in the flow with whatever you were watching, and all of a sudden it breaks you out of that and it freezes for a second. That's what it's like when we are playing a chord progression and we're strumming and we break the rhythm to find the next chord. It derails the entire thing. It's very jarring for the listener. So we've already got our chords that we're practicing separately, trying to get nice, clear sounds with them here. When we're practicing chord progressions, we don't even want to think about that at all. When we're practicing chord progressions, what we're concerned about is continuing the strumming motion through the chord changes. So even if your chords change is absolutely horrific, we want to continue that strumming motion. Here's what it would look like. We're going to start off with A. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I intentionally messed up a bunch of chord changes to show you what I mean. We want to keep the strum going even if it sounds rough as we get to the next chord. It's better that it sounds rough with correct strumming because we can refine that. What happens is we work on two things at the same time. Over here, we're working on getting really good, clear sounding chords. That's a separate thing. Over here, we're working on strumming consistently. And as we get better at each of those things, they start to come together until we are able to strum the chord progressions and change chords and get really clear sounds at the same time. Hey guys, thanks for checking out the lesson. This one is part of a series of lessons that I produced while working on the content for our new beginner guitar course. If you're starting out on guitar, head along to guitarnutrition.com and check that out. And if you want a free Zoom lesson, go over to the website guitarnutrition.com and sign up for the newsletter.